Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders, in green our Category 2, in blue Category 3 and Category 4 riders.
Rollick indeed putting a massive kick off that start line at 9 watts per kilo. A huge kick to lead that Category 1 field out of those start pens. They do not want to keep this pace steady. These Category 2 riders, there has been attack after attack, pull back into the bunch and then attack again. Al Phoebe, who was not even with this group 4 kilometres ago, made that catch and sat in that pack and recovered and then attacked up and over the top. This group, we now see the Category 2 race field come together with the Category 1 race field and form a large group of riders on the road. They have caught Dadson, so Mark Dadson, the early leader in that Category 3 race, has now been caught on this climb. Come on Dadson, get in that group and stay there. They hit the downhill segment and they are going to see the climb to the finish very, very shortly. Simeo goes through and Simeo takes the win.
And welcome to qualifier race number 2. It's 12th of February 2023. We are live and are heading in to a cracking course. My name's Matt Payne and we are bringing you all of the action. I say we because it's not just me here today. I am joined in the studio by the one and only Emma Martin. Emma, you were holding the fort whilst I was out in the Hoogerheide Cyclocross World Championships, and the racing looked an absolute cracker last week.
Yeah, it was indeed, and it's great to be back for qualifier race number 2 for February, because I am really looking forward to seeing what happens this week after last week's epic where the Category 1 men did not make the catch.
Well, we'll see if that's going to happen today, because we are on one of my favourite routes. We're in the Arabian world with the big climb of the Jebel Hafit. To finish, take us through the course, Emma.
Yeah, so today we've got 45 kilometres of race distance today with 1,041 metres of climbing. So a really hilly route today, but that all comes at the end of the course today. So a 10.5 kilometre climb with an average gradient of 6.5%. That's a Category 1 climb for the riders to see the checkered flag at the top. 7 segments along the way, and those segments will indeed give us an overview of how the racing is progressing and what is actually taking place across those 4 categories.
Yeah, definitely. Those snapshots are really important. But for me, this course has got 2 real key trigger points. You've got that first hill and then the main climb. But of course, we've got our 4 categories lined up, as you can see, separated with different start times on there. And just taking a little bit of a check through those categories. We're going to start with our Category 4 riders. And these riders really, this is our starting race field, isn't it? And they're lined up downtown with, what, 1 minute 25 to go. So a pretty packed field of talent here.
It is indeed our Category 4 riders in those red jerseys today, all lined up. We have 16 individual riders in this category today, no teams. Team competition obviously coming underway in our monthly finals, but wearing those red jerseys today amongst those 16 riders, we've got some outstanding starters today. So Goulburn is starting, Finati, Kamesh, Acevedo is starting, Kaluma, Agudelo, these riders all in the top 5 last week and in those January finals. So it is a packed race field today.
It is indeed. And for me, this course is going to suit a good climber, isn't it? Because whilst you might go in together as a pack, that final climb is really going to take its toll. And the 4th cat rider is going to have to pace this very carefully.
Yeah, they are indeed. And, we've seen riders attack early on, only to be caught on the final climbs of the day. So pacing really required and playing to your own strengths.
Yep, and it's going to be interesting to see who does that, because, of course, generally what we find is that Category 2 riders are the riders who are able to kick away and work clear and have the ability to go, but they're not necessarily the most experienced.
Well, these Category 4 riders are now underway on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We are qualifier race number 2 for February, and the push is coming here from Goulburn in Villada. The riders making the pace at the front here, and it's looking like we've already got an early rider dropped off the back of that group, and others just having to squeeze on those pedals because this start has gone quite quick.
I know, so much for it being a steady start off from the gun. They've put the hammer down early. And of course, remember, big prizes available, even in qualifying, where maybe in other competitions you maybe not see any prizes at all. You're seeing prizes in qualifying for each category. So that is really important, isn't it, to our riders? Because it's going to be the top 5 is going to be critical today for them.
Yeah, it is indeed. And just to confirm, individual prizes to the top 5 riders in each of our 4 race categories today. And throughout the qualifying races, the final is where that team prize comes in as well as the individual prize. So, opportunities for race purse wins through all of the races across all of the categories. And the male and female prize pot is absolutely identical, which is a fantastic thing to see.
It is indeed. Now, the first of our segments we were talking about isn't going to come until the 3 to 5 kilometre marker. That's 2K long. Before then, it's very rolling, isn't it, through town here at the moment? So lots of ups and downs, but the new graphics absolutely stunning. So plenty to keep us entertained as they roll out, even without all of the race action. And of course, without those splits. And at the moment, this group is looking pretty cohesive. We're not seeing any particular big pushes through, and nice and contained as well. We're on a slight downhill and rolling into the flat at the moment. And it looks to me like the group pretty much together. One or two riders just having issues, I think, with dropout here. It may well be. Looks like a technical for Hamid there. So the lead group at the moment in there with Finati, and looks like Arego, one of those riders who's not quite in the group at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. We've got a couple of early riders dropped off the back of that group, but we've had quite a strong pace and now are settling down. In relation to the course today, we've said we've got 2 climbs. That first climb coming at 16.5 kilometres. It's 3.4 kilometres in length with an average gradient of 2.8%. There's nothing particularly steep about that climb. And then that last climb coming at 34.5k into this course. Now, 2/3 of that climb is in that final category 1 climb today with the checkered flag at the top, but that does mean 1/3 of the climb is within the rest of the course. It's rolling.
It is. It's up my kind of territory. I really like it when it rolls. I think when it rolls up and down and it dips, and you can see that on the right hand side of your screen, that roll, that dip, that climb, that dip. That's when you can really you get nice warm up. Because if it's just steady state for me, what you're not doing is you're not pushing and easing and pushing and easing enough. And I think that's one of the things. If you can get warmed up, it's going to make a difference. But looks like Ramos at the moment looking to open up the gap here. Renato just pushing the pace up here on this little section into the roundabout and into the turn.
Yeah, and look at that on the top right-hand corner of your screen, viewers. You can really see the stretch to that group of red Category 4 riders, and that catch coming back over as riders just go back over the top of Ramos and catch back and pull that group together.
So let's jump from category 4 to category number 3, the first step up the ladder from 4. Take us through the teams here today, Emma.
Yeah, so category 3 today in those blue jerseys, 2 teams on the start sheets, UAE Road Warriors and Team Strikers. On top of that, we have a number of individual riders, giving us a total number on the start sheets today of 32 riders. So another strong field today. We're seeing Valencia in here, Dadson, Phillips, Kumaso, Parisi, Guven. These riders all having put in good, strong performances. Perhaps something to note, though, we have seen some riders move from Category 3 into Category 2. So Simeo, Lopez and Restrepo, our 1, 2, 3 last week, have now made that progression to Category 2.
That is going to change this. So our rider's ready to go and to leave the start here. So the countdown is on. This is going to be our Category 3 riders setting off on qualifier race number 2. Guys, see who's going to be able to take this. So away we go. Category 3 underway. They go out from the pens down on the shoreline. Going to take that right-hand turn and get themselves out onto the course. This long straightaway where our riders really need to get settled quickly.
And as they push, we're watching Cameron Dodson as we quickly switch to Luis Ruiz. And Ruiz is the rider at the front of this pack, but Martinoli has just taken over. This is a tight bunch at the moment, but it's looking like we're already split to two groups as we start to see riders try and transition between that back group and the front group because they don't want to miss this pace and this action. And it's getting a little stretched on the front there as these riders do not want to make this an easy pace from the gun.
So looking good at the moment here, Emma. Just watching these riders coming through downtown here, and I've been lucky enough to go out to the UAE, and the scenery it is so similar. And at the moment, just shaded because as the sun comes up with all the tall buildings, you get that shade coming down in really in patches, and you can see the riders coming in and out of the shade as go between the buildings. I love the real feel of this as you go through. It matches so much going in and through the United Arab Emirates. And I think if you're an Emirati and you know these streets inside out, you're probably going to be watching this going, I know that. I walk around that all the time and around these corners and turns. Great to see. A little bit further out of town, though, you can see Category 4 have that gap. Currently, it looks like 2.8 or so, 2.7 kilometers separating Category 4 from Category 3. So a reasonable gap between them. And although the prizes are on individual categories, everybody wants to take that overall win, don't they?
Yeah, and that's one of the really good things about this 4 separate category starts. You know, our category 4 riders start first. It gives incentive to our category 3 riders to push on and make that catch. Likewise, our category 2 and our category 1 riders. And some weeks we do indeed see the category 1 riders progress through all of those 3 other race categories to the front of the pack by the finish line. But very often it's our category 4 and our category 3 riders who are often the leaders on the road for a good 3/4 of the race distance.
Definitely. Now let's jump in with category 3. Let's see what they do as they come up onto this climb. It's certainly looking like the guys are going to be putting the pressure on you. Just see that group splitting where Emma just indicated earlier on top right hand side of your screen. We're on 3.3%, 3.4 and climbing as we come up this long drag here.
Yeah, and take a look at what it's doing to this field. And again, that graphic on the top right-hand corner of your screen is the one to be watching here, because not only can you see the group spread across the road, you can really tell the damage it's being doing to that group as this attack is getting pushed on at the front. We've got a 2 up riders at the front here. Eckersley is there as well as Gomez and Mamba, and these riders all pushing on at the front here. Mark Dadson there is pushing to get back on there with Ruiz, and we're starting to see a real stretch here with a couple of riders just looking as though there's starting a gap to form here.
Well, if this group does start to split, we expect to see the Dadsons right up in the front. So category 3 still nice and aggressive. Category 2, Novella and Berto in the lead at the moment. It's only a fractional gap back to Finati. You can see them all coming together as they come through section number 1. The first segment is complete. 3 minutes 43.975 the time that's been set by our category 4. That's the marker that's been put down, and you can see this is doing the damage as we come out through these tunes. I'm loving the texture of these tunes. I'm having a bit of a geeky moment on the graphics because they are absolutely brilliant. I'm loving the texture to the sand. You know, it's not just all one color. It's not just all one side. It really has got that fantastic feel. I want to go out and play in it.
Well, you can play in the sand. I want to watch the racing because take a look what's happened to that category 4 field. It's getting shattered early on in this race today.
It is, isn't it? And I think that's really interesting to see the differences that are happening to the to the groups. As we go in through, you can just see the team just coming in through the centre of town at the moment in category number 3. This pack back all together again, but they are just about to enter that segment where we've seen the category 4 leave. Remember, this segment is 2 kilometers long. So it is a really interesting segment. It takes you from town out into the desert. And there's a very big change of how these riders, the feel, and that does affect how the riders ride it as well, doesn't it, Emma?
Yeah, it does. And as we said, it's quite a rolling course until we get to the 2 climbs. And the small changes in gradient and the constant changes in gradient, so we've just seen it kicking to just under 3% as they cross this bridge here in town, just do allow riders to make a little stretch on the front there. And again, we're seeing that category 3 group stretch there. And we've got a couple of riders just distance off the back as we sit in with Martinoli on the left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side of your screen, the group all back together again. So after that stretch in the category 4 race, now that group coming back together again as they roll through that downhill section.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely changing how the course is, how the riders are reacting to it, and I'm liking this. You see category 4 just rolling on out, and one of the things is category 1 and 2 are going to be able to see this, of course, because if they're watching live, they're going to be able to have that on the screen, and having multiple screens, knowing where all the riders are at. When you are trying to work to bring back these groups, that also helps, doesn't it? And it does change again those group dynamics.
Yeah, it does. And it does help knowing what is going on in those races, because sometimes we see riders knowing that there's a potential of a catch behind, not worry about being gapped off the back of the group. And they do take I was going to say a rest, but I'm going to call it more of a recovery.
Yeah.
And whilst they wait for the chasing group behind, and then then they push on to get into the chasing group behind, looking for that toe back to the group, but having had a very different ride than if they had stayed and pushed to stay in that group. So we do see these 4 different starts creating very different racing.
Well, certainly at the moment, looking very smooth, looking very, very good here. I'm liking that there's nobody coming through really quick here. So there's a nice steady roll through and off, roll through and off. We're seeing Burnett regularly up near the front, Molina, Goldborn, Fanati in there. Suarez is hovering in this group as well. And this pace is pretty high here, 3.3 watts per kilo, rolling around about for Molina at the moment, but it's very similar throughout most of the group at the moment. As we start to head back through the end of the goals, we come up to the paved section of road here and onto the asphalt or the tarmac, depending on what you want to call the smooth stuff that rolls super nice. And you can just see coming in through those palm trees, category 4, category 3, while they're heading out in towards that. As just going past the Oasis on the left-hand side here, just rolling with Dadson on the left, Lorenzo Novello on the right. Big differences in the power. And at the moment, Emma, we're not seeing particularly a catch of any description. If anything, we're just actually seeing the gaps go slightly outwards.
I was going to say the gap's actually going slightly outwards, and I think it's indicating what is happening in those 2 race fields, Matt, because that category 3 race field, it's not a fast start at all, and they've literally just picked up the pace as we've started talking about them. But I was sat there watching them whilst you were commentating, and they were sat at about 1.4 watts per kilo. It was a really, really steady ride, and the category 4 field have obviously seen the stretch and the attacks and the bringing back together again, and that has obviously created a faster pace race at the front of that category 4 field than that which was on this category 3 field. But as we are watching this category 3 race at the moment, Pleasure is pushing on here. We've got a small climbing section here as we come into this, and Pleasure and Phillips are the 2 to go. So Michael Phillips, Alex Pleasure, the 2. Heath Eckersley is putting out 7 watts per kilo to close the gap behind. Jack Staples is on his wheel, and they are stretching that group now. So that category 3 race was steady and calm at the start, allowing that category 4 race to push on and put a bigger gap in. Now I think we're starting to see some action there from our blue jersey race field.
We are indeed, and it's time to head for our Category 2 riders, because you can see the Category 2 riders, they're lined up, ready to go. We're on for about 42 seconds to their race start. Let's head on with them, because you can just see they are starting to get wound up. We've got our UAE Falcons. We've got the Fat and Furious team with Lopez, who's moved up from Category 3, one of those riders who's come up and through. But it's a big race field, isn't it, Emma?
It is. There's 36 riders in those green Category 2 jerseys today. And as you said, we've got a number of riders moving up from Category 3, so that's going to be really interesting to see how they go. But our strong Category 2 riders, Kranich, Moreno, Auramethri are in there. Auramethri climbs very well, you know.
Oh, yeah, he's the man to watch out for. Will he be the man to watch at the top of the climb? Category 2, up and away here on qualifier race number 2.
We're in with Dromard, who's just watching the back of that field as that Category 2 start is underway. And Dromard just getting distance a little bit there with a little bit of a slower start than the rest of that pack because there's a bit of a push on at the front there, just stretching that race field and ensuring a good pace out of that start pen.
I'll tell you something, this is going to be really interesting. I mean, we've got Moises Baltazar in here. We've got people like Angarita in here, Milano in here, Giuliano in here, Cavallo in here, Caligula's in here, Toretto. It really is a massive field. I have to say, this is going to be really tough to pick up a top 5 position here in Category 2. The strength in depth in Category 2 today is incredible because it's not just a few good riders with lots of riders maybe not quite on that same pace. They are very, very strong, pretty much the entire field. And I think that's going to make a big difference into how this race goes out because there's always, I think, going to be somebody to chase you down. I don't think there's going to be a point where if you constantly attack, you're going to run out of people to chase you. You're going to get followed nonstop.
Well, I think with the Rinosh, Maglio, and Spratt all moving up from Category 2 to Category 1 over the last 2 weeks. I think it does open up the field a little bit on Category 2. But you are correct, we've got real strength and depth in this Category 2 field, even without those 3 riders as part and parcel of this pack. And we've regularly seen different riders be in that top 5. Now, I think one of the real telling things here is tactics in the Category 2 race because it is the first group on the road that the Category 1 pack pick up. And often that does change the dynamic of this race, but we're seeing Moreno really want to go out hard from the start here as Moreno pushes on here. Moreno is not wanting to take this easy. He really wants us to see a fast race from this Category 2 race field.
And you've got to say, if you want to whittle this group down, the way that the terrain rolls, we've got the run in realistically, sort of the first loop in and around, which is pretty bumpy. But then it's that first big climb where you're really going to see a difference. And if you are a climber, then you're going to be waiting for that to happen. If you aren't a climber, you've got to start early, haven't you? You can't leave it to the end. But at the same time, you know that Category 1 are going to be chasing you and they're going to be coming pretty quick. So all 4 categories up on your screen. Category 1 waiting in those pens for their race start. Category 2 underway and approaching the 1.7k marker. 7.8k for the riders leading in Category 3. That's Michael Phillips. And in Category 4, you can see that the leaders all together, but fast approaching that 10-kilometer mark at the moment. So 4 groups of riders. 1 still left to set off. That is category number 1, our elite riders at the top of the tree. And really interesting that it's quite aggressive racing, really, from the word go here today in all of those categories. We saw 4 initially having a bit of a dig, but they're keeping that pace high. 3 are still aggressive. Going to be interested to see what Category 1 does. Take us through the teams, Emma.
Yeah, so Category 1 are riders in those yellow jerseys today. We have a number of teams present on the start sheets today. The UAE Clan team, the Sticky Bun Club, PKT Training, Italian Gelato. And one of the things to note, the new member of the UAE Clan team today, Michael Knudsen, moving into that squad. Danish Pavlovas is where he sat before, and he is now shifted team, so that's going to be interesting to see. Belgian Waffles on the start sheets, plus Beast Mode PB Rose. Now, 61 riders on the start sheets in this race field today, and some absolutely class riders, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they make of this course today.
It is, and I think that move across by Nussen into the Clad team to the UAE clan team is really going to strengthen their team. And we know he's a regular winner in his own right, but this is going to be very interesting to see how that changes those dynamics. So, Emma, our riders lined up ready to go. This is going to be critical, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And we are sitting in with Panizza at the moment, just spinning his legs and awaiting that start. Now, getting this start correct and not putting in too much power too early and burning a match really early on is absolutely key. And these are tantamount professionals at this to wind up at the right time. So away we go on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is qualifier number 2 in February, and the Category 1 men are underway. So they swing out onto the course, out of the start pens, and Panizza is in this group at the moment as the whole group are pushing on and pushing out the pens. We've got a few riders just dropping off the back of this early push out of the pens at the moment and just stretching that group down the road. We've got a rider really pushing on at the front there, and it is indeed Philip Graves. Graves has gone hard out of the pen today and is leading that group out and onto the course.
Well, no surprises with Phil Graves going from the gun. He's a man who seems to just revel in the attack, to go hard from the word go. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do when we come in to our finals with his Yorkshire Pudding Express team. You can just see Graves out of the saddle here, continuing to keep that high. I think he didn't want to be distanced. He knew that there's likely to be a quick kick from the start, and he's just gone hard. It gives him a little bit of sliding room here. There's no way he's going to think he can take it to the finish at this pace. But 6.5 watts per kilo, he's not messing about here. This is an early kick, an early move, and maybe just looking to take it to the rest of the riders.
Well, let's be realistic. 61 riders on the start sheets today. You don't want to take 61 riders into the base of the climb as one large group. You want to whittle that group down as much as possible. And I think there will be many attempts today to make this group smaller and smaller till they get to the base of that climb.
And certainly, Phil Graves is not known as being an out-and-out climber. He's known as being an aggressive attacking rider. And this is what he's got to do. He's got to look to try and break that group up and make them work hard. But the gap is opening up at the moment. Look at the distance that he's got on the rest of the riders. You can see it in the buildings at the side of the road. You can see it in terms of the course distance. Now, it's only shown at the moment as being what is going to be basically 0.1 of a case of 100 meters, but that is actually deceptive, because I think you're going to find that he's able to push on. He's got a big kick on him for a fair section, then he'll drop back down. And now what he's got to do is stay out of that red zone. If he goes into lactic acid, if he goes into oxygen, goes anaerobic, he's going to be in trouble, isn't he? He can't afford to go too deep, but he's got to push.
Yeah, but these riders know themselves so well. We've seen Vink and we've seen Knudsen time trial away from the group and establish a lead and hold that lead for tens of Ks during these races historically. And you're right, Matt. Knudsen, Safrazad, Popovic, Vink, historically, who's not on the start sheets today, all strong climbers, and other riders in this race field, that's not necessarily their strength. We see them come to the fore much more on the shorter attacking multi-climb type races rather than these big long category 1 finishes like we've got today.
And you can see the damage that he's doing by going on the attack. Look at the stretch on this group. This is not one big bunch. This is not one group that is riding comfortably together. There is a scramble for the wheels on here. This is where the riders have to stay in the wheels. You get distance now, you're going to be in trouble. Big splits are happening in the group. You can see that they're opening and closing on the top right-hand side of your screen. You can see it in the actual riders at the moment. And this is a real desperate stuff early on. And this is all instigated by Phil Graves, a rider who has taken wins previously on the Sunday Race Club, looking like he really has put the cat amongst the pigeons and has stirred this up incredibly. And this is going to be an interesting response that we see coming. The gap is currently at 7 seconds, but we're not seeing, I'm certainly not seeing, Emma, a concerted chase behind. You're seeing people not want to get left behind the chasing pack, but it's not so much a chase as just a group riding at a similar speed.
Well, I think, a lot of members of that group probably thought Graves was coming back to them, that it was a dig off the start line, and he would sit up and then tap back to the group, and the group would naturally come back to him. But it hasn't, and it has indeed, as you said, formed a little bit of a push on in the group. But the group have settled back now again, back down to it. Look at those watts per kilo, back down to around three. Popovich at the moment is 3.1, 3.2 watts per kilo. BR head is there as well. But Graves is pushing on, and you know what? Graves is sat around 5 watts per kilo, Matt, continuing to put a time trial effort on the front at the moment.
And this, I think, is going to be really interesting when we come in and see the charts on the segment number one, where our riders are just hitting the start of that. So in 2 kilometers' time, we get to the end of segment one. That's where we're going to get that first indication of who's going well. So Graves has gone in there with a 10-second lead, remember. So this will be really interesting. He's got a 10-second start on these riders. Will he be able to hold that as he goes through? Will he lose time? And this is where these snapshots are brilliant, because they give us these little intermediate views. It's certainly going to be a long way before we're going to catch back our Category 4 riders with our Category 1 bunch, because at the moment, the distance on the ground is about 9K.
Yeah, it is indeed. And, they have had a 20-minute head start on that Category 1 race field, and they've made the most of it today. They are now at 13 kilometres and sitting quite comfortably in that group. A number of riders at the moment, seeing a bit of an attack coming on our Category 2 race field at the moment, and that is pushing on through those sand dunes. Our Category 3 race field, a large group all together at the moment by the looks of that race.
So Hamden at the moment in Category 2 with that aggressive move. He got company now up at the front of Category 2. 3 and 4 are together. Category 1 still has its solo leader in Graves at the front. It looks like SS is the rider chasing. It's just reflecting on the variety of scenes on those 4 windows, showing just what you're riding on Arabia, on MyWhoosh. And make sure you download the app, jump on board, come and join us on the rides. Lots of rides coming up, lots of exciting stuff on the way and in the pipeline. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see as we get more and more people riding on the platform. The people experiencing these very different worlds on one ride. These riders haven't got time to look at the scenery because they've got Graves to close back down again. SS is doing his best at the moment. He's got Knudsen on his wheel, but look at Phil Graves. Like you said, Emma, he's just sitting holding that pace at the moment, and he's absolutely flying.
And you know what? His heart rate has moved by 1 beat in the last 3 minutes, from 166 to 167. He is pacing that perfectly. As we just drop into this Category 2 race, Hamden and Moreno are the 2 riders who have pushed on here. So we're starting to see some attacks come out of this Category 2 race field, as well as that attack in the Category 1 race field. So Hamden and Cadiz, and in fact, it's a 4-second gap back. So let's just confirm that Hamden and Moreno are the 2 riders away. Cadiz is the rider with Lopez leading the chase from the group behind. This gap now at around 5 seconds.
And you can just see they need to work together, don't they? Hamden and Moreno need to work as a duo to stay clear. They can't afford to let that group come back up to him too easily. And it's the same for Graves, really. He needs to keep on pushing, but he's opening the gates now at 12 seconds. He's coming to the end of this segment. So through the end of segment number 1 he goes. We'll soon have the shots behind. He's actually closing in on the first of our Category 2 riders. It's going to be Florian Dromard. Now let's watch this screen as the riders come in. At the moment, Graves with a 3:18. But look at the difference now, 3:16. So they've closed 2 seconds effectively, coming down in and through in that segment of 2K.
Yeah, they are chasing, and they are chasing hard, as you can tell by what is on the screen in front of us. So Graves going through and continuing to push at that time trial pace, but the chase is coming hard from behind. 2 seconds in 2K, that still means they need 12K to catch him, Matt.
It's scary when you put it like that. It's a long way. That's a lot of the race route that it's going to take to come back at that rate. Looking at those heart rates, though, You've got one or two riders really pushing up. Interesting to see that the riders who we expect to have a low heart rate, some of them a little bit higher than maybe normal. And I think that is a result of Phil Graves' push, but you can see the damage that's being done with that chase. They are bringing him back quicker and quicker. SS at the moment with Kalman behind. So Alexei Kalman, Zach Nair, and SS at the moment leading that chase with Knudsen, Safrazad. The gap is down to 4 seconds, and they can see their quarry in front. So the hunt is on. The prey is in sight. Who's going to be the first to get the teeth into the goodies in the back pocket of our race leader?
Yeah, so Knudsen and Vijasin are in here. Martinson, Biarhead, Fawcett, Popovic, Vera, Jones, Van Elst, Zanaska, all in this chasing group with that target that Graves has got on his back ahead. They are pushing on and they are trying to make this catch. Currently still a little bit of a gap, and if Graves looks back on this downhill section, he'll see them coming behind.
And look at the damage it's done in terms of the numbers of riders in this bunch. This was a bunch, remember, that was big. How many Category 1 starters, Emma?
61 on the start sheet.
61 on those start sheets. That is not 61 riders left in that bunch. And even if you allow for certain Mr. Graves up the road, they're not going to be bringing them back that quick. It's not a volume of riders. We are down to what, 20 riders or so, I'd imagine.
25 riders going through in that group through that segment.
So 25 riders in that group. That is incredibly demonstrative of the damage that's been done by Graves' attack. And it's the chase of Graves that has caused that damage. And well, they've got to within 5 or 6 seconds now. And I'm not sure I'd be doing what SS is doing here. I think if I were them, I'd be letting Graves burn all that energy on his own and really wear him out. Don't just close him down and allow him to take the rest in the group.
Well, you know, Graves is starting to work his way now through the back of the Category 2 field, and that is going to start to cause some challenges. But at the moment, it will be just ones and twos in that field. It's when those riders come across a large pack that we start to see challenges and confusions really in the group about what is taking place, particularly when riders try and join a race category that's making the catch. You know, unless an attack comes from the catching group, like we saw in the women's last week when they caught the Category 2 race field, you know, often there can be some confusion. And if there's a rider down the road, then it just gives an added benefit to them.
And that's what we're seeing across all of our 4 categories on that split window there. We're starting to see the fracturing, the breaking up here. So we're currently at 7.62K at the moment for Phil Graves. He's on his way through. And this is the climb out. So if you remember that course profile, there was a dip and a rise, a big depression and rise as we came in towards the end. And this will finish at 8.1K. You keep on pushing his way in and through. We're just in with Hamid, who's gone past that point, and you can just see the leader at the moment in category number 2 closing in on the category 3 riders, really pushing on here. And Hamden doing pretty much doing a Phil Graves here, really pushing to try and stretch that group out.
Yeah, it is indeed. And I think the group behind has all come back together again. But Hamden has stayed out front and continued to push on and continued to try and ride clear of that Category 2 group. As we see the catch now having been made in this Category 1 race, and straight over the top goes Knudsen. So the Category 1 field catch and goes straight over the top with an attack from Michael Knudsen.
And as you can see, this is this rise out. This is this steep section, and it's 7.4%. This is a proper climb. It dips and it rises, and this rise now is breaking clear a group of riders. And I tell you something, there's a lot of riders from the UAE clan team right up at the front here. Mistakes 100, Saeed Safrazad in here, and Knudsen is in as well. This is really starting to stretch out again, and look at the gaps that are opening. This is a scramble for the wheels because it levels up This is where the gaps will open. And if you don't close the wheels now, you're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, you are indeed, because we've already seen some riders go off the back of this group. Now, this group was 25 riders in total, and we've seen riders already distance off the back. Is another rider you can see on that graphic at the top getting distance off the back of that group as well. So this group now being whittled down, as Gravesons and Nazca are the ones having to make the catch now and make the juncture back to that group.
And that is a classic counter attack from Knudsen. The rider on the front gets caught. You go over the top. The moment they get caught, there's going to be an easing in pace. It's almost instinctive to back off and ease back the pressure. And that's where we saw Knudsen go. So when you feel that slight easing in the group, and this is whether you're on the track, on the road, that's when you go. You kick straight away and you go, and you try and rely on that little bit of an easing. Knudsen did it, and it looks like it was pretty much a team move there. Now, I suspect the whole that UAE clan team are communicating on something like Discord to each other to ensure that they go. When they go, they're going to go and go hard, and they're going to really take it to everybody else. And we do see this, don't we? People join the team. You get a star rider like Knudsen joining the clan team, and suddenly it reinvigorates that team.
Well, and it also changes the dynamic of the team, because Knudsen is a consummate climber, and we've seen him time trial away. So his time trialing is strong and his climbing is strong. Now, Safrazad and Popovic, both strong climbers, an X100. You know, we've seen him close gaps and close gaps and close gaps.
So strong.
You know, so strong, but not necessarily got the high end power of some of the other riders in the team. So an all round team and a very, very strong team.
And it's going to be interesting when we come to those team competitions in the finals to see what this changes, what this dynamic does. Because, of course, Michael Vink now heading off. He's currently racing for the UAE clan team, the UAE pro team. Could almost be the same thing some of the time with the riders that they've got in there. So he's riding for that UAE pro team, and he's on international duty for the pro team. Really interesting to watch as well, of course, all of the racing that's going on, because, of course, it is the UAE Tour for women at the moment. And the very first tour out in the Arabian area for women. And I'll tell you something, it is some great racing in there, some fantastic sprint action. We saw the riders going up to the top of the Jebel Hafita actually yesterday. So make sure you go back and watch that. Make sure you give the UAE Tour official, it is on Instagram, a shout.
Yeah, and our rider's now just going through segment number 2. So it's a 1 kilometre segment number 2. And it is indeed that category 1 group going through the quickest. 1:20. Oh, no, actually, it's not, you know.
No, it's not.
It's Hamden from the category 2 attack from Hamden going through the quickest in 1:22. My goodness, look at the time gap on that category 1 race field. 8 seconds quicker. So Hamden's attack on the front of that category 2 race field, putting a time through that segment 8 seconds quicker than the category 1 group. And if we take a look back to the rest of the category 2 field, 13 seconds quicker than that category 2 field he's attacked.
Well, this is a 1K segment. So a 1K segment and a 1 minute 22 effort, 7 watts per kilo. That is huge. That is pro level. That shows that if he continues like this, he'll be in category 1 very quickly if he can keep that pace going.
It's interesting, isn't it? We say that. In fact, Maglio, one of the riders who has come up from category 2, is one of the riders who has dropped off now the back of this category 1 lead pack. He has indeed been in that group for a substantial period of time, but has now, one of the riders with Vera, been dropped off the back. That group now looking at around 19 riders in that lead group in category number 1.
So this group of riders, Hamden, are just being absorbed in there after that 1K effort and being clear and just being brought back into the pack and looking good at the moment. He's not going to get caught out with that classic get caught, go through the group, get spat out of the back. But the moment that he's caught back, you can see the riders starting to push on this slope down, running down into town. You can just see us dropping down past those palm trees, and that category 2 looking pretty quick still. The speed 36 kilometers an hour, but look at the pace in category 1. They're on an uphill stretch going super quick at the moment here. This is fast, 40 kph, 25 miles an hour up a 2% slope. Ouch.
Yeah, it is a little bit ouch at the moment, isn't it? And these riders continuing to push on and stretch this group on this little climb, these little rises here. We said it was quite rolling, and the rolling nature of this course allowing these riders to just dig in and put in small attacks here and small attacks there and just push the pace. And it is keeping this pace high in this category one race.
It is. And I think what's going to be really interesting as we just come through segment number 3, we're now starting to see the regular names come to the fore. Van Elst, Mr. X100, a line of Jasin, Zach Nair, Michael Knudsen, Said Safrazad, Phil Graves, Ross Fawcett in there as well, Jakob Björklund, Alexi Kalman doing a good ride in here, Martin Martins again, Juan Hoyos. We're seeing lots of our regular names pushing on in this group together. What's also very interesting, I think, is that we're now starting to see the riders, I think, aware that without the riders like Vink, maybe it's a little bit more open for them.
Yeah, and it does give a different dynamic. We went through December and January with Michael Vink very, very dominant in the racing. And then we saw teams and riders start to get together to think about how do they break that dominance of Vink. And then with Vink going out on road duty for his team, it has changed the dynamic of the racing. And we've seen other riders come to the fore, and it's been really interesting. Now, taking a look back at segment number 3, we are now starting to see that category 1 pace really starting to dent now into the times of category 2 and the category 3 race field. And they are now definitely motoring. And I'm sure we will start to see those gaps now coming down in terms of distance and the catches now looking to be made.
So category number 3 at the moment, looking like we've got one of our regulars on the front in Mark Dadson. He's just looks to be closed down by Pager at the moment. In category 2, it looks like Hamden, our long-time attacker on the front, now paying the price for going so hard so soon, and has gone out the back of that pack in category of 4, bottom right-hand side of your screen. Well, the attacks are still coming with Fanati and Goldborn at the moment, really trying to wind it up. Category 1, well, at the moment, now it's a little bit more peaceful in there, but if you think about where the climb comes on here, the climb starts at 16.5k and runs all the way to 19.8k. That gives you a real indication of what's the really tough section at the moment. You can see Alex Pleasure at the moment is on that climb, leading the category here, pushing hard on the pedals, and our category 3 leader now having caught Dadson stretching away. But this is all about this climb, isn't it, Emma?
It is indeed. And Pledger and Dadson, the 1-2 out front at the moment with Staples and Cusmano, the riders chasing. Now, Dadson had an outstanding attack last week and stayed clear for a significant period of time, but he got caught on the final stages of the climb and they went over the top of him. I was willing him to stay out, but it didn't happen for him. Good to see him in an attack mode again today.
Well, we've just seen the attacks coming on category number 1 as well. Mr. X100 just on the front, winding it up here. Maybe wanted just to keep that pace a little bit higher. So category 1 just getting a little bit spicy once again with Mr. X100 on the front. He's been closed down this time around, but a classic Mr. X100 move, going over the top of a rolling section rather than necessarily on the climb itself, using the dynamics of the platform and the riding to his advantage.
And knowing these courses inside out, these riders who ride day in, day out on the MyWhoosh platform do know these courses like the back of their hand. They know where to take the momentum, they know where to make the attacks, and they know how they can close the gaps and not burn all their matches. So a real value to knowing these courses and having ridden through the multiple worlds on MyWhoosh.
And I think wherever you ride, you can identify with that, can't you? Because you know where to push, you know where not to push, you know where that little bit extra effort will get the most reward. Do you give it 80%, 82, 83, 84? Do you go a full 100% here? If you do it here, does it work, or does it another 2 seconds later make a much bigger effect? And having those little pushes can make all the difference. I mean, the gaps are minimal. These are world-class athletes in here, and those gaps are absolutely minimal. And these are riders who we're going to be seeing representing their nations in the World Championships.
They are indeed, and getting a good workout here in preparation for that on the 18th of February. But as we sit in here, this group just pushing, we're just on a little bit of a climb now at the moment. Before this Category 1 race hit the first real climb of this course, it is a little bit uphill at the moment with just a 3% gradient, and we're just seeing the legs getting stretched here. We're in with Jones, just watching the back of that group with Graves. Panizza is there as well, and Nair. Hoyas is in here too. So they're just watching the back of this group, but just need to make sure that they stay with that group as the push comes on the front again. We're seeing a little bit of a stretch go out on the front of that group.
So the group compressing and expanding as they go through as the different dynamics of not just the rider's effort, but of course the aerodynamics, the effect of gravity on all of the riders, that rolling resistance, and all changes how that group is rolling at the moment. Just in with Ollie Jones now. Ollie, always one of those riders that we know will attack near to the end of the race, usually not going to go too early. Every now and then he does try and catch us out, I think, by going a little bit earlier.
Yes, he does indeed. Well known for his drafting skills in the pack, and then that attack in the final stages. And often his teammates leave him in that pack and wait for him to launch at the end. And have often been the ones down the road in the finals making the attacks, with knowing Jones is sat in that pack and waiting.
Well, just looking at category 2, Zaid Hamden had been off the front. He went off the back. He's come through the group again, and he's accelerating. He's looking to try and, I think, take a little bit of a gap forward again. So a real yo-yo effect at the moment from Hamden, but he's on that climb. We're at 17.7K, so we are pretty much a third of the way up this climb. And I think Hamden has decided that he wants to just stretch these riders out going through. But look, this Mr. H100, he's doing the same now. They're at 16.5, and they are coming in to that big climb section now. So here we go. Let's see who's going to continue to push on, who's going to have that pace with H100 in that group. And they are really starting to stretch their legs today.
They are starting to stretch their legs, but they're also coming into the back now of this Category 2 race field, and they've already gone past some of these Category 2 riders. Baltazar is the rider that they've gone past, and in fact they are about to come back. You can see the number of Category 2 riders down the road in front of them that these riders are now going to take through. In fact, the front of that Category 2 race now less than 1.5 kilometers down the road.
Yeah, we've seen some real big names not all that far away. I mean, people like Tom Gates, Dexter Abello, Julio Orrego, they're not far away from them, and they are closing through. And when you see somebody like Moises Balthazar being caught by these riders, that it says a great deal.
Yeah, but Zanaska, he's pushing at 7.5 watts per kilo up this climb. Zanaska is stretching this Category 1 race field, and he's moving at a pace that is not going to allow any of these Category 2 riders to jump into that group.
Well, look at this. He's really pushing and he's stretching it out. He's using the confusion and going through the riders and the added draft as he comes through. He really has wound this up. So we've done the initial open section. We're now underneath the reservoir at the top. You could just see the riders going through the tunnels. We climb out and away from town. We head out in towards this tunnel section. And Category 1 are absolutely rocketing along. They've now got just over 1K to the riders at the front of Category 2. Category 2 has come back together again. Hamden's move has been stifled. It is now been eliminated. And are we going to see a counter-attack from anybody, or are they going to be content just to contain Hamden as they go up there? We're just watching both Category 1 and 2. Very similar terrain, and I can't imagine it's going to be long before they can start to see each other.
No, but Zanaska's attack there, I think he's left behind some of those Category 2 riders. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd left behind some Category 1 colleagues as well, because this group now all back together again, but that push at 7.5 watts per kilo from Zanaska done some damage. I can see one green jersey. It's Tom Gakes. Tom Gakes has indeed made the juncture into this group. Class rider, Category 2, Tom Gakes.
He is indeed. I mean, Tom Gates gives it absolutely everything. If you haven't watched his social media feed, jump on and have a watch of Tom Gates's feed. He gives it everything. There's not a lot left of Tom Gates at the end of the ride. I tell you something, it's great to see him jumping in there. Smart riding, my Gates. If he can hitch a lift on this Category 1 group and hold these wheels, then he's going to be in a great position. But he's been caught on the climb, and that is a terrible place to get caught because there is not a lot of help from the pack in terms of aerodynamic shelter.
No, there isn't. And you know what they say, Matt? If you want to get better, ride with people who are faster than you.
Yep.
Jumping in with that Category 1 group really does help Gates move on. We jump back in with this Category 2 lead field, and Hamden is still in here. Hamden having a push at the moment and a bit of a struggle to push on through. Cadiz is there. Cardenas is there as well. Smiths and Rodriguez are all in that group. So we're looking now, you can see at the front of this Category 1 race field, they can see another group of Category 2 riders ahead. In fact, Bogren is in there, Roncalli is in there, Rodriguez and Arego is in here. So these are the next riders to get caught, and I think we're seeing a kick from them to try and get into this group.
Well, you got to get the timing right because this group is coming like an express train through a station at the moment. And I think they're in danger of just getting whipped off the platform here and thrown on the tracks because they are coming at speed. Look at the speed difference through they come. And you've got to have a substantial kick at the right time to jump in with this. SS powering on with Lionel Vajasi, Stefan Van Est, Ollie Jones, Martin Martins, all motoring here. Roncalli and Bogren are going to be the next to get caught here, I think, and they may well have more of a chance. They were moving that little bit quicker, and you can just see there's still a gap up the road, 1 minute 40 plus seconds to the next group of Category 2, but the pace this Category 1 pack are moving is incredibly quick, and you can see it's a bunch at the front, strung out at the back, surefire sign that the pressure is on.
Well, I think we're seeing pushing paces from these Category 1 riders when they're coming onto the back of these Category 2 race fields. We saw it last week in the women's race. We're seeing it now in the men's race because they don't want to take those Category 2 riders with them. A lot of the Category 2 riders deliberately utilising the tactics of waiting for that Category 1 lead pack and making the assumption they can jump into it and take a tow and a big draft from those stronger riders. And I think the Category 1 riders are now getting a bit wise to it.
Well, Bogren just able to do that. It's Albin Bogren who's just jumped onto the back of this group. Very hard to do. If you're going to get caught, you need to be caught on a faster, flatter section if you want to make the most of that draft. But Bogren able to respond and has jumped into the back of the Category 1 pack. And this is a great move by him, but he's got to make it stick. I think the other thing that we see, Emma, is as you come in behind a group, I would always push on and choose to get up to the front of the group as you go up behind another group of riders, because otherwise what happens is the guys at the front get the draft as they come behind those riders and speed up, and it opens the gaps further down that field. So staying at the front, but of course everybody wants to be at the front as you come up behind the riders, and that is going to make a difference. Now, look at the times through segment 4 here, Emma. 5 minutes, 6 seconds through segment number 4. Segment number 4, 3K with a predominantly climbing on the way through. That's some going.
It is indeed some going, and interesting to see that front group of Category 1 riders now whittled down to 15 riders in that group, and over a minute back to the Category 2 race field on through that segment. So Category 1 riders now really pushing on, and I would start to expect that catch to that Category 2 front group not to be too far ahead.
So the 3K segment done. Our next segment will come at 25.5K right the way through to 26.5, so 1,000 meters, 1K to get there. This is our group of leaders on the road. Mark Dadson has caught and has got on his heels the leaders of Category 4. So Dadson and Cusimano at the moment are the two riders who have got up to the front. You can just see Heath Eckersley kicking hard here in the blue, just trying to work his way back onto the wheels of Dadson and Cusimano, and he's just about made contact. So no longer is Suarez, Fernati, Satoria and co from Category 4, the race lead overall. It is now our Category 3 riders who've caught Category 4. So here on the Sunday Race Club on qualifier number 2, we are 26 kilometres into the racing for the riders furthest down the course. That is our Category 3 and 4 leaders. They are together on the course, being chased by Category 2 and Category 1. Category 1 at 22 kilometres, so still work to do. But the big climb at the end, the Jebel Hafid, going to be the key point on this course. Lots of chances to break this up, but we are heading downtown at the moment and back in with some amazing architecture in front. You can just see the big mosque in front. Just take a right-hand turn on the side. It's huge in real life. I've been past that. It is absolutely massive. I think it's second biggest in the world, second only to the one in Mecca. It is absolutely astoundingly beautiful. So the riders skirting, taking the right turn in front, now heading along the side of the roadside, the coastline, not all that far away. Saeed Safrazad in this group. They're working hard. They've got gaps to bring down here as they come in. They've got the group in front of Category 2 leaders. We've got the Category 3 and 4 leaders together, and I think this Category 1 group can be confident they have the best of the best in there, because this group is minimal. 15 riders, Emma from the last segment check, and just running into a very fast downhill section now. So as we came over the top, we've got a long downhill section. This is where you can really wind it up. You can increase the distance on any riders behind and really break any kind of catch they've made. Bogren, though, staying in here for Category 2, Emma.
Yeah, it is indeed. And I'm just noticing it's indeed Cowan is the rider who's recently distanced off the back of this group. So riders still being distanced off of this group, but Bogren, you are right, that Category 2 rider who was caught by this group, able to stay in this group and hiding nicely at the back and making the most of that draft. You can see that the what numbers in green indicate that Bogren is indeed making the use of that draft. That number indicates a draft. When it is black, it indicates that the rider is out in the wind, and that power number is strong. So Kalman, the last rider being distanced, Kalman over a minute back now on this group. So this group motoring really well. X100 is in here, Martins, SS, Fawcett, Knudsen, Popovic. These riders all pushing on and pushing on strongly.
They are, and that gap opening because of the real sort of knife edge profile of that first climb. You ascend and then you're instantly into a long descent, and the descent is actually longer in distance, if not time, than the ascent into it, and that makes a huge difference. But when we get to the base, there is another climb coming now. 24.5k covered for the Category 2 leaders. And this means that they are well on the way through, but we are still not onto the main climb. The main climb coming at 34.5k, so still plenty of distance to go. These Category 2 riders going past Mendoza, who is no bad rider at all. He's a crackingly quick rider, but just getting distance now.
Yeah, so Mendoza getting distance from that Category 2 race field. Back with the Category 1 race field, Bogren getting distanced here. So Bogren now not being able to stay with this group. The gradient is at 7%, so I'm not surprised, because, you know, the power of this Category 1 group sitting at just over 6.5 watts per kilo. It's a big ask for Bogren, however good a Category 2 rider he is, as his Category 1 group starts to sweep up other riders from different race fields that have been distanced from their groups.
And look at the numbers. Look at the power to weight that is being put down. 6.5 watts per kilo by SS. Knudson's gone over the top at 6.9, 7.5. This is a big push here. He can see the road in front ascending. So they've come down the dip. They're now on this climb back out again. So you dive off the big climb, you go down, you got another rise out, and this is to climb back out of the big valley, and they are going to do some damage here. I'll be very surprised if we don't lose more riders because the pressure really is on. The question will be who is going to get distanced here, and will the composition of the group be right for the teams that are racing here today? They won't want to distance the wrong people at this stage because there's a long way to go to the finish. 24.7 of 5K covered, and this climb continues onwards.
Yeah, well, who is getting distance? It's X100 who's having to push on hard at the back here to close that gap down. Bjorklund now the rider just watching the back of that group. We seem to have riders in this group now. Van Elst is here, Panizza is here, Zanaska, Knudsen, Noren, Jones. Fawcett was in here. Fawcett is still in this group. Great ride from Fawcett today. Do you know, Matt, he's been really showing his hand recently and putting in some great performances. I really would like to see him come right to the line with a group soon.
I think it's only a matter of time, and we've seen that progression, aren't we? The regular riders who are regularly racing are benefiting not just physically but psychologically. They are getting that little bit of an advantage, that little bit extra, and it only takes a little bit of time to make a difference. But this group looks like it's gone over there intact, and that means that move, that push there, didn't shed too many riders. And I do wonder whether the UAE clan team were a little bit careful there. They saw that they were distancing one of their own riders, and we saw Knudsen ease off there because of that, and just maybe allow X100 in, because at this stage they don't want to lose any of their team members.
No, and that's it, isn't it? You know, they need as many people in there for as long as possible to help them work through this. So we can just take a look here. This is the front of the Category 2 race field. They are 300 meters down the road from this Category 1 race field. In fact, if they could look over their shoulder, or
they're coming.
They are indeed. They're just behind them round that bend, and that's the only reason they can't see them at the moment. So I'm sure they can hear them and the heavy breathing to actually catch them with the effort that's coming out of that Category 1 race field at the moment.
Well, I'll tell you something. If they were out there and you were riding, you'd hear the whoosh of the carbon wheels. You'd hear people really pulling and rocking those bars over as they come through. And I think Nike is going to see Popovic on his heels very soon indeed. Now, it levels off over the top. So we saw the compression at its maximum between the Category 2 leaders and Category 1. So the distance between them at a minimum on the steepest top of the climb. But as he went over, Category 1 are still on the climb, whilst Category 2 have accelerated out. We've got our Category 3 riders in between. Cameron Dadson in here, interestingly, with Noak, Schobberg, and Mamba. So Ephraim Mamba in here, leading this group through. They know that they've got the pack of Category 1 behind us. They'll be able to see them on the screens on that ticket on the right-hand side, but they will want to get in as fast as they can to the finish. They may even try jumping in. I don't think I've ever not tried to jump into a group going past. I can't think of a time where I didn't do it. But as we say, it does make it's a way to learn how to go quicker. So coming through the end of that segment, the Category 1 in and through. Take us through the start, Sama.
Yeah, so it is indeed that Category 1 race field coming through that 1 kilometre segment the fastest. So Safrazad taking that time in 1:43. Bjorklund, Popovic, Van Elst, X100, Panizza, Knudsen, Vujasin, Zanaska, SS, Nair and Noren all going through with just over half a second separating them all. Martins, Jones, Fawcett are the riders still in that group. So 15 riders in that Category 1 front group now.
So I think it's very interesting. We've got Lionel Vujasin racing really strongly in here. He's a rider who's been selected for the World Championships, and he's looking strong. I mean, Belgians had a great weekend and some interesting racing at the World Cyclocross Championships, but they're also riding really strongly in the racing in the early classes on the road. And of course, looking like they're going to have a really strong contender in the World Championships. And we know Vujjasin is a rider that you can't afford to let go. Mr. X100, though, looking to take advantage as they work their way through Ephraim Mamba, just being passed by Mr. X100, 21 seconds to the back of the group in front. And I think Mr. X100 is again aware of what the terrain is going to do here. It's going into a descent. He's picking up the speed and he's using that. Meanwhile, Knudsen isn't going to wind this up, surely, because it's his teammate who's off the front.
Well, it is interesting, isn't it? You're right about the terrain at the moment. It is a descent, and then there's a small kick, and then it's pretty much flat for about 6 or 7 kilometers until we get into the base of that Category 1 climb. So riders getting caught now may well be able to make the juncture and stay in that group unless there is some really high pace coming off the front. As Jones kicks really hard, coming up for 9 watts per kilo. Jones wants to close that gap to X100. He doesn't want to let that go, while Knudsen was quite happy to sit on the front of the group. Knudsen and Popovic are now needing to respond.
Well, you saw that move by Jones, 10 watts per kilo to go across to Mr. X100. He saw that Knudsen was playing the teammate and sitting back, not making the move. That was a sustained effort there by Jones, and that was about 7 or 8 seconds at 10 watts per kilo. That is a huge power output, and it shows that they do not want to let Mr. X100 go down the road. They don't want to let anybody who is dangerous go away and go clear. Now, they've rolled down, they're onto the ascent, and they can see their target very clearly in front. And now the pace goes up once again. They've got Angarito in here. They're going to be absolutely flying through the riders very shortly. Looks like the avatars in the Category 2 race are all looking over the shoulder as well. They might, because there's a big yellow bunch and it's heading your way, guys.
It is, but the Category 2 bunch are catching the back of the Category 4 bunch. So this is going to get really messy. We've got Category 4 riders, Category 2 riders, and Category 1 riders here, all coming together as Knudsen kicks over the top to go past the whole group at 8 watts per kilo. Knudsen is the one to push on and push right through this group. The Category 1 pack are behind him, but they're mixed in now with this Category 2 group.
Well, this is your chance. You've got all that aerodynamic advantage of sitting in behind the wheels to go with. Knudsen's gone. SS has gone. Vujjasin is trying to respond. And look at that Category 1 group. It's not a bunch. It's a long line of riders threading the way in between the green jerseys, the red jerseys in there. You can just see it's going to sort itself out into colour order, I suspect, with the yellow jerseys on the front and as many green jerseys that can hang on sat behind. Now, you've got to be right up there, because if you see a rider starting to lose the wheel, you want to be in front and on to the leaders. Sat where we can see the riders at the back, people like Jakob Björklund, it is definitely the danger zone, because if they don't move up to the lead, which we're just seeing him do, if a gap opens, you can be in trouble. And I think Mr. X100 is also in danger of being in that danger zone. So all action behind at the very front of the race. So Eduardo Parisi, he's on the attack. Come on, Eduardo. I'd love an attacking race. Can you tell?
Yep, indeed. Parisi's been the brave rider here. 8-second gap now back to Cusimano. Those two riders, well, Cusimano, we saw a lot of the early action coming from there, but Cusimano's got Eckersley and Dadson, Mark Dadson, for company back there. So Parisi now clear. 3 riders chasing in that Category 3 race field. Luis Ruiz is the rider in 4th place, who has just pushed on to join that 3. So Parisi now 9 seconds ahead, 4 riders chasing behind.
And do you think, Emma, this is a move to get some sliding room as we go on to the climb? Remember, he's going to hit that climb in about 1K. At that point, he knows that he's going to either need some room to accelerate away if he's looking for a win, or is he looking at sliding room to give himself some room in front before it drops?
Well, it's got 3.5 kilometres on this Category 1 race field behind. But I think he's giving himself some sliding room on his competitors in that Category 3 race. You know, we've got strong climbers and it's a long climb. And for those Category 3 riders, that's a strong group who are out front. Those 4 riders who are out front in that Category 3 race are indeed all strong enough to take that climb. So As we go through segment number 6, we can see it is indeed those Category 1 riders who are setting that fastest time again. So SS, Fawcett, Van Elst, Nair, Safrazad, Panizza, Bjorkland, Martins, Vujasin, Zanaska, Popovic, Knudsen, and I am just scrolling through. We have still got 15 riders in that front group.
Well, for all of that action, for all of the aggression and all of the pace and power, they have not whittled it down below our top 15 Category 1 riders. The UAE clan team and the Belgian Waffle team well represented in there at the moment. And it's going to come down, I think, to the final climb. We're at 31.2 kilometers here on the Sunday Race Club on MyWhoosh. And at the moment, we are heading in towards the big climb, the Jebel Hafid, which will take us the long ascent, 10.5 kilometers to the summit of this big, long climb. And having ridden up this on MyWhoosh, I can tell you, you're going to feel every single pedal stroke. You can see our race leader on the right-hand side, Parisi, at 10.9, now 11%. The chasing pack are coming for him, but he's made a good move here, and I think he's looking to stay clear, as you say, of Dadson. I think that was a move to stay clear because we know Mark Dadson can time trial, and this is a long climb with plenty of chance to do a time trial type effort.
Yeah. Now, this climb, we said before, 10.5 kilometers of climbing, an average gradient of 6.5%. But as Matt indicated, really steep sections because there are some downhill sections on the climb as well. So, topping 11, 12% in places, it is really going to test our riders at the end of this race today.
Well, real brutal route, real tough racing. And Mr. X100 just puts a dig in to go up to the front of this group and then backs right back off again. We saw 8 watts per kilo, then down to 1.5. Now picking it back up again as the group comes in around him. And we're starting to see a little bit of a kick and a rush, and then a back off and a kick and a rush again here. And this is going to be quite telling. And at the moment, Pablo Popovic, with some work to do, a man who we know can climb and we know can take victories on the top of a climbing ascent and a hilltop finish.
Now, Popovic can put out 14, 15 watts per kilo when he wants to do. And in fact, he's managed to close that gap back down. In fact, it's Matt Smithson, the Category 2 rider, who was unable to stay with that pace and didn't have the kick of Popovic to make the juncture to the group.
Well, it is a big kick, and Popovic, definitely a rider who I would not want to let go clear at this stage. 32.6k covered. The climb proper starts at 34.5, but remember, it is still rolling on the way in. It's not overly easy. And there would be a lot of kilometers of desert road to take us from the coast out to Al Ain and up onto the Jebel Hafid in real life. Well, because of the wonders of MyWhoosh, we get there really quickly and head out of town very fast. We've not got far to go, and this should be the calm before the storm that is the climb. Our race leaders, well, they are on the climb, but they are being closed down. So the Category 4 and 3 leaders being closed down by Category 1, who have caught Category 2 leaders who are all mixed in this big group at 33k.
Yeah, they are all mixed in. I'm trying to pull them out here. So Ospina is in here, Angarita is in here, Lopez is in here, Torrentino is in here, Cardenas is in here. These are really strong Category 2 riders, and well, that is evident by the fact that they've been able to stay in with this Category 1 lead group. But I'm sure as soon as we start to see the gradient incline, we will see the Category 2 riders come out the back of this group and start their own fight for the 1, 2, 3.
I don't think you're wrong there at all. I think that the Category 2 riders, when they were caught where they were, it was a pretty much perfect place to get caught. You're in the right place to be able to make the most of it and jump on in with the group. And for me, that is key, isn't it? If you can jump in with the group and make sure you can make the most of it, then you're away. But that timing is critical. And if you get caught on a climb, you haven't got much of a chance of staying in there. And the best of that Category 2 have managed to jump in. They've managed to stay on board. And now, well, they know that they're on the run for the hills. You can see them in the distance starting to rise up in front of our riders. They know, well, I think in the words of Yaz, the only way is up.
We've also, I think, looking down there, we've got a blue jersey category 3 rider in that group as well at the moment. And the pace on the front set at around 3 watts per kilo, enabling these riders to stay in this group at the moment. So, category 3 rider as well, getting a tow from that group too.
Not for long. I hate to be the doom monger, but not for long, because we're at 34.2. Here we go. We're running into the start of the climb. This is going to be the decisive moment for the race win. This is where we're going to say there's no more hiding in the bush. There's no more taking shelter. You've got to prove it now, because we are about to hit the climb. 100 meters to go, and we're going to be on the base. And you can already see those numbers starting to pick up into the fours, starting to see fives and sixes start to appear, and the road ramps up in front. And if these riders didn't know they were coming into a hill because they can see it in front, they'll know because of the way the nervous pace pickup that's happening now.
Yeah, and the gradient starts to kick. We're at 3% incline at the moment, but very shortly it's going to go exceptionally steep as they turn this right-hand corner. We're going to see 10-11% under these riders' wheels. You know, these riders are now pushing on, and take a look at that group below. It really is stretching already. Zanaska is one of the riders just behind that gap, and Safrazad and Martins. Now that is surprising, because those riders I would expect to be up near the front.
Yeah, that is a big, big surprise to see them. They've got a push now. Here we go. This is the run for the top. It looks like Safras have managed to bridge back across here. Norrin up on the front of this group. They're coming up. It's 10.3%. You can see the cities in the background. We're a long way out of town. We're away from the nature reserves that are dotted in and around the coastline, and we're onto the climb. And now Knudsen kicks at 7.4 watts per kilo. Noren trying to respond. Vujassin quickly onto his heels. Safrazab, Martins, Fawcett, Jones, all putting the big, big numbers out. Look at that run. We're talking from 7 to about 8 watts per kilo. Mr. X100 is with SS now. Well, the two riding partners had the pleasure of riding with these two guys out on MyWhoosh before. They're incredibly strong, but they are being distanced by that leading group. And it looks like that UAE clan team, made a good move. They've got Popovic in front, but they've got Knudsen up there now, the new signing. I think he's going to be the man who's ripping this up, and the gaps are open. Stefan van Elst being distanced here.
Yeah, and I think Paniza has been distanced as well behind SS and X100 further back down the road. So we are seeing here Jones, Knudsen, Noren, Vujassin, Martin, Safrazad, all part and parcel of this front group. You know, these are strong, strong climbers, and Fawcett is also here as well.
Well, I make that 10 riders strong, that leading group at the moment, as they continue to push. And Knudsen goes over the top at 9 watts per kilo this time. So you could just see the figure of Knudsen continuing to push on at the front. But look at this ride by SS and Mr. X100. They are closing on the back. They are time trialing the way up. And we've seen them do this time and time again. But I think this climb, with its explosive little sections, is going to take its toll. I think they're going to struggle to get back on. I can't see that becoming a group of 12. I can only see it losing riders now.
Well, and that is, isn't it? That is the question. Can you just ride your own race up this climb? And if you are more comfortable at a constant pace, stay at that constant pace and see if you can pick off any of the riders coming backwards, rather than constantly responding to the changes in pace that may be going on in the pack ahead. And that's what X100 and SS are doing at the moment. And that group currently is coming closer towards them.
And it is a really interesting thing, isn't it? We see it time and time again in tours. People will try and go with the race leaders. They will yo-yo with them. They'll put themselves in trouble by trying to stay with the pack and then be distanced backwards out of that group. And you end up in major trouble. And those riders who have been time trialing the way up, sweep them up and go flying past them because they haven't gone into that red zone. They haven't pushed themselves beyond their limits and then need to recover. So here we go. The chasers at the moment. Van Elster, Nair, Mr. X100 now in this pack. Ollie Jones is in here as well. I think Jones must be suffering from a lot of either serious training or racing, because we wouldn't expect to see Jones being dropped from that lead group maybe at this stage. But as you can see, This is the chase impact, the race lead in the category one, just in front. The race lead overall, well up this hillside, but coming back quickly.
Yeah, they are indeed, and they're pushing on here. So Fawcett is the rider next up the road. Fawcett has just been distanced from the group in front, but only by a couple of seconds. So X100, Jones, and SS Nair is behind as well. So these riders now coming down. So Knudsen, Vujasin, Popovic, Safrazad, Zanaska. These riders are indeed in this group. This group now a much smaller group. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders. So 2, 4, 6. And you can see behind the gap being closed down with 2 more.
Well, they're chasing Parisi, who we just saw on our screens. Parisi had less than a K in front, but they were packed up behind him. It's going to be a real battle in that Category 3 competition, because you could see that they weren't all that far behind Parisi, and it's only going to take the race leader at the moment to blow, and they'll be in trouble. But look at this ride from Mr. X100 here. This is the group with the NASCAR in front. It's 2 seconds, and Mr. X100 is going to make this junction, I think, to the back of the pack, but we'll see what happens in front. Will this group suddenly accelerate again? Will we see another attack? That gap is coming down, and he's gone past a number of people who tried to go with the leaders. So another kick coming. Is this going to be the death knell on the approach for Mr. X100? Because we've seen another attack, and now the NASCAR is having to respond to it as they come around this right-hand slope here. The left turn weaving its way through. We're going to come up, and then we're going to take a hairpin turn, horseshoe turn around that left-hand turn that's coming up in front. The race lead already round that section. And Group 1 slowly but surely catching them on this climb.
So as this climb really starts to kick, Zanaska, Safrazad, Vujasin, Popovic, Knudsen, all in this group climbing really hard. Martins is the last rider rounding out this group. X100 is the rider trying to catch back on. And I think that catch is going to come. So now we're taking a look. We've got 7 riders in this lead group.
So here we go, 7 riders who can do the business today. Are we going to see a mover from the new signing? Is he going to be the one to go clear? Another big push coming on the front of this pack. It looks like that's Knudsen to me, who's starting to wind up on the front. He's starting to go clear. The question is, can he make it stick? But that looks like it's Knudsen to me, who's the one who is winding up. They are catching and going past the riders here. Great camera shot, and you can just see the scramble for the wheels behind. Who's able to respond? At the moment, it is pretty much everybody, and you can just see it was, in fact, Knudsen on the front who was winding it up, and they've come back together again. Mr. X100 goes past the NASCAR and Popovic now, so he's working his way back up and not too far in front. Here we are. This is the pack of riders. Kusamato in here, as well as Dadson. They've gone past Heath Eckersley, who can only sit and watch these Category 1 riders go through, and another move on the front of Category 1 as they came through there, taking advantage of the confusion. And that looks to me like this time it's going to be Knudsen, and he's chasing Safrazad now.
Oh!
So look at that. They're 1-2 from the UAE clan team, and they've got Popovic behind as well. This is looking like they've got renewed vigor with the signing of Knudsen.
And this is Parisi. Parisi's looking over his shoulder, and he can do nothing about it. So Parisi was the leader on the road today. He got to just shy of 38 kilometers of this 45-kilometer race as this Category 1 race pack go past Eduardo Parisi, our current leader in that Category 3 race field.
Just look at the pain here. You don't need to see riders' faces to know that this is absolutely agony coming up here. They are pushing as hard as they can. They're in one long line here. They are moving at 22 kilometers an hour, and this is desperate stuff here today. So we're talking about 12 miles an hour or so, and you can just see further back there are quality riders, people like SS at the moment, who are feeling the pressure. Currently 10th on the road, but we have 8 leaders, 8 riders in that leading group, but it is Knudsen with Vujasin, Popovic, Safrazad there, all working the way up and through. And are we going to see the UAE clan team now taking it in turns to have an attack at the rest of the riders? Knudsen goes over the top of Safrazad. Popovic is in here. Noren, Mr. X100, Vujasin. It is a real mix. Martins, I tell you, he is riding stronger and stronger. Great ride by Martins.
Yeah, over the last few weeks, we've really seen Martins come to the fore. We've seen him attack this race field. We've seen him go through to the climbs. Not yet been rewarded with the top 5 in February, but he was rewarded with 5th place in the January final. So a rider really on form at the moment.
And I really want to see him take a win. No, you shouldn't say things like that as a comment. But to be honest, I love the fact that we're seeing this progression in riders. And I love the fact that we see them work the way through. They get used to how the platform rides. They really improve. We bring on these riders and they become these amazing athletes who are taking on the best riders in the world. And that's what we want to see, competitive racing against riders' peers. And we're seeing it time and time again. I tell you something though, Knudsen, he is on a special planet at the minute because look at this. He's kicking again. We have been on these slopes. We've got over an hour's racing. We're nearly 1 hour and 2 minutes of racing in for our Category 1 riders. And they are still knocking chunks off each other at the front of this group.
I know, knocking chunks off the front of each other, absolutely true. But Martins is the one at the front at the moment. Martins is pushing on. Fabulous to see Martins make the attack here. Safrazad goes over the top. Knudsen is there. Vujasin is still here. Popovic is in here. X100. Noren is the rider who's just being distanced a little bit here. So Noren now 4 seconds back. MTB elite specialist. So making that transition to esports and staying with this group.
Well, they are spread right out, and it does bring riders from all sorts of disciplines in and from all over the globe to come and race on MyWhoosh now. Coming in through the barriers, you can see the fort and the palace up at the very top of the Jebel Hafid. There's a that still exists still here on the top of the mountain. We're just coming past this long lay-by of park cars on the right-hand side. Here we're on a 9% slope. The rock walls encroaching on the left-hand side, right the way to the edge of the roadway, then a bigger drop off to the rider's right-hand side. These rocky outcrops really are making our riders work today as they come up on to the climb. And at the moment, it's Knudsen from Safrazad, a 5-second gap back to Popovic, Mr. X100, Martins, Vujasin, and then a further gap back to Noren. But it is currently 3 riders, 1, 2, 3 on the road for the UAE clan team.
So Safrazad took the win in our January final. Knudsen took the win in qualifier number 1 in February. Currently, Knudsen and Safrazad are 1 and 2 on the road today.
And look at the distance behind. We just saw that shot looking back at Knudsen, and we could see the coastline down below. You can see the Gulf of Arabia right down at the bottom down there. It's so far away. Look at it behind it. This is the climb. This is the height that these riders have gained. They've had to pedal for every meter of ascent here. We're coming up to the 40K marker. May I remind you, this is a 45-kilometer race. They've still got 5K to go. And at the moment, we are seeing lungs and legs being shredded by the lead riders here, Saeed Safrazad and Michael Knudsen.
Yeah, and they did indeed start down by that harbour. That start gate brought them out to the harbour area, and they are now 5 kilometres off the top of this climb, where they will see that checkered flag at the top of this Category 1 climb. But who's going to take it? Knudsen? Safrazad? Will X100, Popovic and Martins make the catch? They are 10 seconds
5K
behind.
to go. You could do it, couldn't you? You could get there. This could be possible that we're going to see these two blow themselves to the smithereens, and the chasing pack. Remember, they've got Mr. X100. This is a master of pacing. This is somebody we have seen right back onto the group time and time again. And at the moment, they're not losing much time. They are time trialing the way up here. And this is a masterclass from Mr. X100. He didn't panic in the early stages when they were attacking and yo-yoing. He sat at a pace. And look at this now. He's closing down the gap. Knudsen is on the front. Safrazad is with him. We go over the 40K marker. We've got 5 kilometers to go. If this was me, I'd be crying. There's 5 more K to
Well,
go.
you can cry, Matt, but that is the end of our final segment today. And that last segment is 5 kilometers in length. So pretty much it is the first 5K of this climb today. So this is going to give us a really good indicator of what has been taking place and how fast those riders have been going behind. Now, obviously, we can see Knudsen and Safrazad are 1-2 in this race, and they have set the fastest time over this first 5 kilometers of the climb, 13 minutes and 8 seconds. Both of them going through very, very tightly together. 3 seconds further back, so the third fastest climber in this first 5 kilometers, X100, followed by Popovic, followed by Martins, Vujasin, Norin, and Zanaska. But look at that. Zanaska has lost 37 seconds. Yep, 37 seconds in the first 5K of this climb.
And this climb is 10.5K long. If you extrapolate from the time for the first half, first section, first 5K upwards, that means we are going to see a climb of about 26 to 27 minutes of climbing on this mountain. That is a lot of pain. It's a lot of time. I can ride a 10-mile time trial quicker than that, even now.
Well, let's just put this into context. These Category 1 men have been racing for 1 hour and 7 minutes already, and they've got 4.5 kilometers still to race.
And it's all about the climbing. I can do that on the flat. These guys are going up at 10, 12%. The gradient's yo-yo, and it drops down to a really pleasant 8 or 9%. This is really brutal stuff here today. And look at Mr. X100. We saw him time trialing his way through. He's on the left-hand side of your screen. He can see the 2 riders in front, but the gaps are starting to open to Popovic, Martins, Norin, and Vujasin now. So we can see riders like Lionel Vujasin, selected for the World Championships, starting to be distanced a little bit here, 30 seconds down, but we are still not at 41 kilometers.
No, we are not. And Knudsen and Safrazad have now got a 12-second gap on X100, Martins and Popovic. But these riders are doing a really good job of holding together this chase group. But X100 is just able to continue to sit at that pace. And actually, his heart rate has dropped a little from where he was earlier on today. So sitting at a comfortable pace at the moment, X100, Popovic and Martins coming back together. And I'm sure his legs aren't telling him he's sitting at a comfortable pace. But continuing to push on and showing us actually what a strong rider he is.
Yeah, definitely. Now, this is where we have a little bit of a step. So we run across, and you can just see our race leaders on the right-hand side at minus 0.2%. It's basically a level section where it then starts to ramp up again as we come across the face of the mountain onto the next section of the climb, and very quickly into a 9% section. And you just saw those numbers flick into the red on the right-hand side of the screen. Left-hand side, you see Mr. X100 is on the same slight descent drop into the next step behind. So there's not very much distance between these riders. And knowing this climb will be absolutely key, because you need to know where those rests are so that you make the most of the rest, but also you make the most of the strong sections where you've got to push on.
Well, pushing on at the moment is Martins and Popovic and X100. All of those 3 riders still together. Look at that. Almost a time trial line out at the moment from those 3 riders on this climb, as Martins just comes up onto the wheel of Popovic and just comes up alongside him. Further down the road, Safrazad is pushed on. Knudsen is on his wheel. So it's 2 riders with a gap of 20 seconds back to 3 riders. This is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the road and in this Category 1 race. And at the moment, I don't think we can call any of those positions.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'm kind of getting a bit of deja vu here. We're on the climb up the Jebel, and yes, the graphics are absolutely astoundingly changed over what was 12 months ago, effectively. But my goodness, UAE clan team have got 4 out of the top 5 riders on the road. It is like going back in time a little bit here because this is the sort of domination we saw. Then we saw a lot of riders coming in and having a go, and the UAE clan team really having a hard time from some of those teams. But now the UAE clan team has strengthened their squad with Knudsen coming across, and I think the rest of them have taken heart from that as we see the 3 chasers continue to push, but the gap has opened, currently sitting around about the 20-second marker up to Knudsen and Safrazad. It yo-yos a little bit, but they are pushing on. But we've got a tight right-hand turn coming up, and this long drag will turn into a slightly different profiled right-hand hairpin turn, and then a long sweeping left-hand horseshoe.
Yeah, could you imagine if we had rules and regulations and windows for transfers on esports teams? That would be a really quite interesting,
It would give
interesting
us a
change
lot
in
to talk
dynamic,
about,
wouldn't it?
wouldn't it?
It will
Yeah.
do indeed, but it's interesting to see, isn't it, that actually how someone moving teams can actually create a different dynamic and a different type of motivation within a squad, and actually teamwork and team motivation is absolutely part and parcel of it. As you said earlier on, Matt, it's not just about physical capacity; it's also about mental and psychological capacity, and those things really bring something to the racing.
And sometimes it can pull somebody up, not just because of the positive of having, "Oh, I've got a great team and I've got an even better rider," but it could also be, "Oh, I better raise my game here because my team is moving up and I want to move up with them. So therefore, I need to lift my game again." And we do see that happening. That
Well,
is really
I'm going to
interesting to see.
talk about moving up, Matt, but this gap is coming down at X100, Martins and Popovic. This group of 3 riders in this chase group have been doing an outstanding job, and they have indeed been moving up because Knudsen and Safrazad now, Knudsen at the lead of this race now, with a 2-second gap to Safrazad, but it's now only 10, 11 seconds to X100, Popovic and Martins. So they are not letting this gap go further. In fact, they have slightly closed it down.
So here we go, coming around. You can just see in the turn around in front of the face of the building there, just perched on the edge of the cliffside of the Jebel Hafid. The leaders go through. The chasers come around that same left-hand turn. This is one of our steeper sections here, and going up to 11%. It will kick again just as we come up, but you can just see rolling in from the 8% onto this 11% section. Mistakes 100 leading the climb up. Martins then Popovic behind them. Narana Zanaska now out of the running for a top 5 position. I think it's going to now come down to who is going to take which position. Safrazad Knudsen in the lead. Mr. X100, Martin Martins and Pablo Popovic currently in 3rd, 4th, and 5th places.
Yeah, so it is 800 meters, 80 meters, should I say, separating these 2 groups of riders on the road. And if Safrazad and Knudsen would turn their heads, they would see the 3 chase riders down the road behind them. So Knudsen and Safrazad, 1 and 2, currently on the road. X100, Popovic and Martins are the 3 chase riders still in that group trying to close this gap.
And you can just see as they came over the top of that steep section, the pace picked up there to 40 kilometers an hour, trying to get the most of that momentum by rolling in and kicking in hard on this slightly flatter section. This really is a false flat. It will feel almost downhill despite being nearly 2% as you come into it because you've been on a 10-12% gradient, and it really skews your perspective of what is flat and what isn't, because you roll over the top of a steep section, you think you're on a flat bit, you're actually still climbing. You're thinking, I'm not going as great as I thought I was, but you're actually on an ascent, and it's just because it's not as steep as the rest of an incredibly steep climb.
Yeah, and this incredibly steep climb just keeps on giving, doesn't it? Because there's still around 1.8 kilometers of this climb for these riders today. And whilst it does look a little bit flatter at the top, there are some very steep sections and a very steep kicker before they get to that checkered banner.
So 3 riders battling it out for 3rd, 4th, and 5th position, just on this slightly more a gradual rise up through the plateau. More gradual as in it's 7-8%, which is still really testing the riders out. And it's a very realistic 7-8% as well on MyWhoosh. a little bit further down the hillside. So behind our top five, Noren currently in sixth place, Nazca in seventh. We're in with SS in eighth position on the right-hand side of your screen. Then it's going to be Vajasin in ninth, Ross Fawcett with a top 10 position again, looking very, very strong at the moment. SS currently at 42.5k. It's 1 kilometer separating SS to the chasing group behind our leaders. The leaders just a little bit further up the road, and we're going to ascend all the way up to the tower in the distance on the left-hand side of your screen, and that is up at the top. Remember the tower, the fort, the hotel, and the pass, all at the top of the climb of the Jebel Hafit. So there is a little bit of a chance to grab a coffee before you head back down. What is an incredible descent. Definitely on my bucket list to do it in the flesh out on in the UAE. If you get a chance, go out and ride. Amazing countryside, amazing riding, and some fantastic cycling provision in the country that really is pushing on with its sports provision.
Well, pushing on with the power on the pedals at the moment is Martins and Popovic, just gapping X100 now. So Popovic in 3, Martins in 4, X100 3-second gap now back to 5th place. Up the front now, Knudsen is pushing on. Knudsen has got 800 meters to go now. Knudsen and Safrazad 1 and 2 fighting this out now on the run into the finish. 10% the gradient is kicking out at the moment for Safrazad and Knudsen, as Safrazad and Knudsen continue to fight this out.
So this is the battle we are in to those last 800 or so meters. Michael Knudsen is winding this at 8-9 watts per kilo. Safrazad is answering at 10 watts per kilo. They continue to push. The gap will open now to the riders behind. They don't need to worry about the chases. Popovic looking to pull clear of Martins. Mistakes 100 dropped in the running, so it's 2 pairs with 1 rider in 5th place. So at the moment, Knudsen and Safrazad in 1 and 2. Popovic and Martins in 3 and 4. Mr. X100 in 5. But this is the run for the line. This is the run for the finish. The last steep kicker is in front of them. And this is now about getting the timing right as you go up. You've got this drop down and the run in. Here we go. Knudsen's got the gap. Are we going to see the rush from Safrazad behind him? It's 14 watts per kilo from Safrazad as he comes up on the wheel of Knudsen. It's going to come down to like, can Knudsen respond? They're going to push. We're seeing 15 watts per kilo and Safrazad rolls him on the line. Knudsen comes in 2nd place. What a fight.
Yeah, what a fight. And Martins is pushing on at the moment for 3rd. Can Martins make 3rd? It would be his highest position this year on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. So Martins kicking. He can see that banner now. Popovic is behind. Popovic has gone at 12 watts per kilo. Martins is going to get rolled here. Martins needs to respond. Can Martins go for 3rd place? I think Popovic is going to see the banner. Popovic goes round the bend. He can see the banner. Martins can't respond. Popovic is going to come in and take 3rd. 3rd place goes to Pablo Popovic.
The momentum master strikes again with Pablo Popovic taking 3rd, helped by knowing that momentum, that drop and rise. And a great ride from Martin Martins to come through to take 4th place here today. He's really pushed his way in and through. Now, Johan Noren, I think, is going to roll in for 5th place. He's gone for 4th place. Sorry, he's going in through. It will be 5th, sorry, for Noren. Then it should be Mr. X100 behind. So Noren on a good ride here today. The last kicker, he's going to go through the line. Our riders have to go round and do a U-turn around that bend before rolling back down. And I'm hoping all our riders are going to enjoy that descent on the way down. But it's going to be a 5th place here for Johan Noren. Great ride by him to come in and through. And then it's going to be Mr. X100. What a comeback. He chased right back up into the lead, into that fight for 3rd place. He is going to come through and take his finish here on a climb he knows inside out. Great ride by him. And he's going to be followed by his teammate by SS.
Yeah, indeed. And wow, look at that race time finish. 1 hour, 19 minutes, 31 seconds. But look at the difference between 1st and 2nd. So Syed Safrazad takes 1st place. Michael Knudsen rolled on the line, 0.007 of a second. That was just phenomenal racing from Safrazad and Knudsen. Pablo Popovic takes third, Martin Martins fourth, Johan Noren pushes on in those final stages to take fifth place, X100 takes sixth, SS seventh, and Zanaska is rewarded with eighth place today.
And 7 thousandths of a second might have separated 1 and 2, but we're now seeing those bigger time gaps behind into the minutes as they come through. The other big thing to notice, of course, UAE clan team taking first, second, third, as well as sixth and seventh place, really on a celebration. I think Michael Nussel not able to take the win on his debut, but putting in a great performance there for the team. Lionel Vajasin still continuing to go through. So we have our 9th place riders through. I think our 10th place rider is going to be Ross Fawcett here. So a great ride by Fawcett here, Emma, as he comes up to the line.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic ride from Fawcett today. Stayed with that group for a very long time, now being rewarded with the top 10 position. So Fawcett sees that finish banner and just continues to push on and tap out a strong power as he goes under that line. Top 10 for Fawcett today.
So that's our top 10 riders in to the top of the climb. They're all our category 1s who came through and passed the category 2, 3, and 4 riders. Don't forget, of course, all of the race results will be up on the MyWhoosh.com website. Just click onto the results. At the moment, they are live. They'll go unofficial, then verified as official. We're going to come to the end of our coverage of the men's racing qualifier race number 2 and move on to our women's race. It's been great having Emma alongside me. Where can we find you on social media?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram at Biking Emma or on other platforms as Emma Martin.
And don't forget, of course, that you can catch up with me. It's at Matt Fixpain and at Full Speed Events. But make sure, of course, you subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch up with us when we come back for our women's race on qualifier race number 2 on the Sunday Race Club here on MyWhoosh. From Emma and from me, Matt Payne. Stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.